Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Undrallio's Backlog. Dear Esther, Part 2. If you're just coming into this, go to Part 1. I sum up what the game is supposed to be like, what an experience it is, and so on and so forth. Just look at this. God damn. Never have I been so in awe of the beauty of a video game. I was blown away by Skyrim, by Crysis, by Far Cry, games of those caliber, but the scenery in this game is just so perfect. Some people find it frustrating that you can't jump or duck or crawl or anything like that of that nature, but oops. Come on, game. What are you doing? But I don't. I think this game can be experienced in no other way except to walk. If you were able to run, you'd go through it too quickly. If you were able to crouch, it wouldn't feel right. The narrator is very posh, very educated. He doesn't seem like the kind of man who would crouch.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
Another reference to the island from a real-life experience. It was really upsetting how the frame rate keeps cutting like that. Nothing takes you out of an experience like a bad frame rate cut.
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits have arrived?
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. Well, some good new hermits have arrived. Can't quite climb up that. Oh, for the love of Christ. I love how the wind picks up like that when you begin going through these valleys.
When I first looked into the shaft, I swear I felt the stones in my stomach shift in recognition.
Anybody thinking Nietzsche? If you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss will stare back at you. There's a lot of philosophy behind this game, a lot of existentialism, and
I've begun my ascent on the windless slope of the western side. The setting sun was an inflamed eyes squeezing shut against the light shone in by the doctors. My neck is aching through constantly craning my head up to track the light of the aerial. I must look downwards, follow the path under the island to a new beginning.
This is actually one of my favorite tracks on the soundtrack. It's absolutely haunting. This game literally gives me chills when I play it.
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career.
Clearly, I can't.
The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him, either.
We find these little tidbits of information about men before us. All solitary, all recorded in journals. What is this island that draws these men, these thinking men of stature, to such hermitage? Oh, this frame rate's pissing me off. I have 16 gigs of RAM. I should not be having issues. We got another one. Different this time. Triangles and lines. In addition to the chemistry graffiti we find, we also later discover circuitry. Personally, I think the mix between chemistry and circuitry is an attempt to graph out the human brain. At least it fits with the story.
Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes. Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
This entire game is a quest to the aerial. To the one modern piece in the game. The aerial. The beacon. Of hope, maybe? The renewal? Of something. We'll find out. I am going to apologize that the frame rate keeps cutting like that. I'm assuming it's because of Fraps. Fraps is such an intense resource hog, but my computer should not be having issues with it. Do you ever just want to stand at the edge of a cliff and shudder? If you do, then this game is for you.
Jakobsen's ribcage, they told Donnelly, was deformed, the result of some birth defect or perhaps a traumatic injury as a child. Brittle and overblown it was, and desperately light. Perhaps it was this that finally did for him, unable to contain the shattering of his heart. In half-light, his skeleton a discarded prop, a false and calcified seabird.
There are a lot of allegories in this game relating seagulls and humans. To what avail?
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. His fingernails were raw and bitten to the quick. They found the phosphorescent moss that grows in the caves deep under the nails. Whatever he'd been doing under the island when his strength began to fail is lost. He'd struggled halfway up the cliff again, perhaps in a delirium, perhaps trying to reach the Bothy's fire before curling into a stone and expiring.
Curling into a stone. Becoming one with the island. Becoming the island. Can I walk over all of this? Nope. Well, mostly. Nope. It's like we're going back. Beautiful little side route, though. Not much of a route. I'd like to take this moment to stop and tell you to look. Look at it. God damn. It's my understanding that the Chinese room is actually doing the sequel to, oh, what was that game called? Give me a minute. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Now that should be interesting. I mean, this is anything. I really like this. The boat all decayed, and its support boards acting almost as if a rib cage, a large animal.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broke. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
That music terrified me the first time. Rightfully so, I think. Into the cave. This is the entrance to part 3. Isn't it gorgeous? Let's slide. See you in part 3.